Hi everybody, thank you for viewing this video. My name is Connor Sullivan. I'm a researcher at UMass Lowell. My background specifically is in civil and environmental engineering. And I appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to our presentation on how you can help us detect heavy metals in your drinking water and your communities. So in this presentation, I'm going to go over who I am and the larger team I'm a part of. Why water contamination is a concern, and what our team is doing, and how you can help us. So this is our whole team here. As you can see, there's a lot of professors and students and from many different backgrounds. So as I said, my background is in civil engineering. There's 3 professors who have backgrounds in engineering as well. We're mainly focused on testing water and developing sensors to help average folks like yourselves be able to test your water on your own eventually. We're also working with computer scientists who are helping both the device development and then also analyzing all of the data we're collecting and also combining that with historical records. And then finally, we're working with social scientists, and they're helping us, not just do water testing, but also reach out to the local communities like yourselves and make sure that we're effectively informing and communicating with people. So first, there's exactly what is the problem with water contamination? So many of you have probably heard about, there's been a number of high-profile instances of drinking water contamination. So the most high-profile was Flint, Michigan, in which water or from a local river was taken by the city of Flint, treated, and then given out to the local community to drink. And the problem is that water, when it left the plant, was actually perfectly fine to drink, but the treatment process made the water corrosive, and because of that, it dissolved lead from old lead pipes, and by the time it got to people's homes, it was very heavily contaminated. There's been similar instances, such as in Newark, New Jersey, and most recently in the U.S. Virgin Islands, where the cities had similar problems of old lead pipes dissolving and releasing lead into their drinking water supply. And even in towns where people are not on the town water supply, but instead are using individual drinking water wells, there can be issues of contamination. One of the big problems is actually arsenic. This is a big issue up in New Hampshire, where the granite in the bedrock is actually naturally high in arsenic, and over time that can dissolve into the groundwater that people are drinking from their wells, and cause some serious problems. So this video here does a good job of illustrating exactly how lead can get into our drinking water. Provides this visualization.
When you hear news about lead in drinking water, you may wonder how that happens and whether you're at risk. Is there anything you can do to reduce your risk? Let's answer some of those questions. Here's a look at a water system. Water can come from an underground source like an aquifer or an above-ground source like a river or reservoir. It's piped from the source to a water treatment facility. The water is treated and sent out via water mains and service lines. These pipes could possibly be made of lead. Water with certain chemical properties, such as acidity, can cause pipes to break down or corrode. Corrosion can happen to pipes, solders or joints, or fixtures. If they're made of lead or brass, they can leach lead into the water that ends up in homes or buildings. Public health agencies have determined that no level of lead is safe for consumption. The Environmental Protection Agency works with states, water systems, and others to ensure that water is routinely tested for lead and treated when necessary. So what can you do about lead in
So obviously lead and other things getting into your water sounds concerning, but why specifically is this a concern? So the people who are most at risk of lead exposure are children. That's because one of the main problems lead causes is problems with the brain, and children's brains are still developing. Um, so children can experience things such as irritability, learning difficulties, and even irreversible neurological damage. Um, that said, adults are also at risk. And they can experience things like memory loss, headaches, and joint and muscle pain. So obviously, lead in drinking water can have some really serious problems. I do just like to point out with this figure, um, well, it clearly shows, the more lead that we ingest and builds up in our body, the greater the health risks. And some of those health risks are very serious. Um, as I don't want to alarm anybody, the local towns do a limited amount of testing between 30 and 50 samples every year. And based on the reports they publish on that testing, none of the towns we're working in are experiencing anything close to the contamination seen in Flint. What we're doing is trying to increase access to testing and also education, so that way more people can get their water tested. And if there is a problem, we can flag even those low levels of lead contamination, make sure everybody has access to the best drinking water possible. So, if lead is such a problem, why do we have a bunch of lead pipes? Well, historically, lead was considered a pretty good material for plumbing. And it's relatively ductile and inexpensive, so that means it won't break. And obviously, you can afford to install a lot of lead pipes. Um, yeah, and also back in the 50s and 60s, they were still using lead paint and lead gasoline. But by the 70s and 80s, it was becoming clear that lead was a problem, and even the lead coming from the lead pipes was a health risk. So in 1986, Congress passed the Safe Drinking Water Act, which banned any new lead plumbing. And in 1991, the EPA started regulating in lead in drinking water with the lead and copper rule, which set an action level of 15 parts per billion in drinking water. And in recent years, there have been efforts to further tighten in those regulations, lowering the limit to 10 parts per billion with a trigger level. I bring this up because as the people who are at greatest risk of lead in their drinking water are people in older homes, specifically built before 1986. In those cases, it is possible that if renovations haven't been done, either the plumbing in your home, sinks, faucets, and pipes, etc., could contain lead. And also it's possible that the service lines, the pipes leading in from the main drinking water system that lead into your home, those could also contain lead. With all the problems lead causes, how do we go about testing for it? The traditional method is to use large laboratory-based equipment, such as this shown here. Actually, at UMass Lowell, we have a number of these devices in our labs. And these instruments are reliable. There's well-established procedures for testing with them. And when used correctly, you provide very accurate and sensitive results. Their limitations, though, are that they're just not remotely practical for widespread or on-site testing. So these devices are about the size of a small refrigerator, if not bigger. They're very expensive and require highly trained personnel. So as a result, the only way you can get your water tested now is to collect a sample, send it off to a certified lab, have your water tested. They'll send you results within a few weeks, but also that process is very costly. Testing it costs anywhere from $60 up to well over $100, depending on how many things you want your water tested for. So as part of this project, we're working to develop a handheld device referred to as the tongue, shown here. So this device uses disposable sensor strips and can detect multiple chemicals, and that includes lead and copper, which is what we're currently focused on. It also provides an easy readout. And our hope is that we can use this device to provide widespread testing into local communities with residents like yourselves doing the testing, or local non-profit groups, providing people the opportunity to either borrow one of these devices or bring the water in to test. So currently during this project, we're still collecting water samples. What we're doing is, if you give us a sample, we'll test both the standard lab equipment and then the tongue. So this will accomplish two things. We'll send you the results from the standard lab method, so that way you're getting accurate, reliable result on what's there in your water. And then also we'll compare the results of the e-tongue and the standard lab methods to validate our technology. And we eventually give this out to local people to test this themselves. So if you're interested, we'd greatly appreciate if you could collect a sample for us. The more samples we collect, the better we'll be able to test our technology and make sure it's working. And also it helps to you as well as the broader community. So when I say the broader community, we are working in 4 towns: Lowell, Drake, Andover, and Lawrence. If you're in one of those 4 towns, we'd be happy to provide you a sampling kit at no charge. Or in those sampling kits, they contain instructions both English and Spanish. We are also working on other languages such as Khmer and French in order to make this project more accessible to everybody. And also if you know anybody else who is interested in having their water tested, we host workshops in the local communities, or also you could just show them this video, and we'd be happy to have them also collect a sample. So if you are interested, you can collect a sample from one of our local community partners. And I'll provide the information on where you can get your kits at the end of this presentation. But we ask that you pick up your kit. Then we ask that you register. The kits will have a QR code and a link on them. We just ask that you follow that link. And it'll just ask you for some information. You don't even necessarily need to give your name. That's optional. We just want an address and some contact information, so that way when we get a sample back, we can match up the address to that contact information, and we'll be able to contact you with your results. It hasn't happened yet, but a worst case, we end up with a sample that does have concerning results, and then we can't get in touch with the sampler because they didn't provide us phone number or email. So once you've done that, registered, so we'll be able to get in touch with you. We ask that you collect your sample. The kits contain sampling instructions, so I'll briefly go over how to collect your sample, but the instructions are more detailed in the kit. Once you've done that, just put the bottles back in the kit and then drop your sample off. Like I said, there's a number of locations you can pick up the kits and just return your kit to any of the participating locations, and then we'll collect the sample from those locations, test it, and then email you the results. And so when I say we'll email you the results, there's a bit more to it. If we don't find high lead or copper in your sample, we'll simply send you an email. It'll inform you about the results. That'll give you some peace of mind that you have to be concerned about lead and copper or in your drinking water. If we do find high lead, we'll email you to let you know. We'll also send your sample out to a certified lab just to confirm that the results we're getting are accurate. And then we'll also contact the drinking water department. So the drinking water department, as researchers, we don't have regulatory authority, but we have been in touch with all of the drinking water departments. They know what we're doing, and our hope is that we'll be able to advocate if we do find concerning results and get some action taken, whether that's getting pipes replaced or having the towns change up their drinking water system. Also, in the short term, we will provide you with information on steps you can take, such as purchasing water filters or running your water or to flush out lead from your pipes as a temporary solution while we work to try to get some changes made. So here's a brief overview of the instructions. Like I said, these will all be in the sampling kit in more detail, but here are the key takeaways we want you to remember. First, let the water sit unused in your house for 6 hours. So this just means don't turn on any taps, don't have anybody take a shower, ideally don't be flushing the toilet. So we recommend just first thing in the morning when you get up, collect a sample of water, or that way the water has been sitting in the pipes, it's dissolved whatever lead is going to dissolve, and that way we're testing the worst case scenario for how much lead it will be in your water from your pipes. Alternatively, if you go to school, summer camp, work, and everyone's away for 6 hours, when you get back to your house, you can collect it then. Time of day doesn't matter, we just want to make sure it's been sitting in the pipes for 6 hours. We then ask that you turn on the cold water tap. The regulations say we should be collecting cold water, just because water heaters sometimes have particulates that build up at the bottom, and those might give an erroneously high result. And so we ask that you collect both the first and fifth liter of water from the tap. The way you do this is, as you can see in the kit, you'll have 2 bottles. One is labeled first. So when you start collecting your sample, just turn on the tap, fill up that bottle of water to the line, and then turn off the tap and set that aside. That's your first liter. And then take the bottle fifth liter, and then turn the tap back on, fill it up once, dump it out twice, dump it out a third time, dump it out. In fact, all you just did was dump out the second, third, and fourth liter to come out of the tap. And then we ask you to fill up that bottle of fifth liter one more time, and that'll effectively be filled up with the 5th liter of water that came out of the tap. And then keep that sample, set it aside. And the kit also comes with some labels, so just ask that you fill out those labels, stick them to the bottles. That'll eliminate any chance of a mix-up in our lab. That way every sample has the address and time collected on it, just to eliminate any possible confusion. And after that, there's a form that you fill out, again, just so we have an address and contact information for all these kits we're getting back, and then put everything back in the bag and return them to the one of the sample drop-off locations. So this slide just provides a little more context for why we're asking you to sample both the first and fifth liter. I know it can be a little bit of a pain, but the idea is that if we find high lead just in the first liter, that probably indicates that there's lead plumbing somewhere in your home, and that could be addressed as by turning on the tap, flushing out that water, and getting new water coming into the house. And ideally, you would be replacing that lead plumbing, but you don't have to, and we think it's for the best that you at least know how to try to flush out your tap. On the other hand, and if we find high lead both the first and fifth liter, that would likely indicate the water is coming from a lead service line. The lead service line is that pipe that's leading in from the water main into your home. Those lead service lines are actually the responsibility of the town. And they are supposed to be working based on federal regulations to replace those over time. So we're hoping to identify as many lead service lines as possible so we can help the local towns determine where these pipes are and get them replaced sooner rather than later. So those are some closing thoughts. Thank you for watching this far into the presentation. This is our overall vision of what we hope to accomplish with this research project. So we hope by the end of this project that the e-tongue will be in a place where we can give out to local community members like yourselves and also local community groups. You all can then collect samples of water, test them with the e-tongue, and then we're working at the e-tongue actually be able to connect to the internet via an app, and from there send your data to a cloud. And that will all be done securely, but we'll be able to take all that data and look at the results different people are getting, see if there's an area with a lot of high lead concentrations, and then we can go through all those results and check for patterns and hotspots, and we'll be able to provide early warnings to local water municipalities and regulatory groups. And from there, once they've done the air confirmatory testing, they can then send out warnings to the community to protect not only you, but your neighbors, your friends, from potential water contamination. Obviously, this is, like I said, the ultimate goal for the project. It's a ways off, but we do appreciate your participation in this project. So just a few more things. If you're interested in taking part in a focus group, we'd love to hear from local community members in more detail about your thoughts and experiences with drinking water. So the focus group would just be 5 to 6 people, and we'd spend an hour, like I said, talking about experiences with local water and just the community and local government more broadly. They'll take place at a public library or other community space. And in exchange for that hour of your time, we will be compensating people with a $25 either Market Basket or Amazon gift card. So let us know via email if you're interested. So, if you want to contact us, we have a project website that gives a nice overview of the project, goes into a little bit more detail about some of the things I was talking about in this presentation. Probably the best way to reach us is via email at cleanwater@uml.edu. And then, like I said, this project is going on for a few more years. So we do have a workshop evaluation where you can give your thoughts, praise, and criticism of this video. Let us know how we can make improvements. And it's in order to better communicate with local community members. So if you want to scan that QR code, we would also really appreciate that. And on this very last slide, I'd just like to acknowledge the support of the National Science Foundation. Like I said, we're a university, we're not-for-profit. This is all made possible by funding from the National Science Foundation. And also, we'd like to thank our community partners, including Merrimack River Watershed Council, YWCA Lowell, the local towns, and all the other community members and organizations we work with. Thank you.